Yes. Oh, okay. So let's look at the community agreements. Obviously, when you're not talking, we are going to be recording this. So if anyone's missed out anything, they can hear it. If you'd like to participate, please use the chat section, and you can put some questions in there if you have any questions for our speakers. Assistant Rotary Coordinator Damien Leach is going to collate all those questions and put them to our speakers. He has some already that people have done beforehand. And I just ask everyone to speak and listen with kindness. We're all Rotarians, so of course that's what we'll be doing. Now, the next slide is our leader, RI President Holger, has suggested to us that now is the time to be revolutionary, and you can read that. And we have some very revolutionary people speaking with us tonight. First of all, we're going to have Nick, Courtney and Arie Geerlofs speaking with us. Now, Nick has been a Rotarian for 24 years with the Papanui Club in Christchurch. Now, I hope I've pronounced that correctly. He has been a membership chair at both club and district level and is the district governor-elect for District 9970, leading the last year of the district towards a new South Island district, 9999 in 2021-2022. And with Nick, he has his good friend Arie Geerlofs. Now, Arie joined the Papanui Rotary Club in Christchurch in June 1999. Now, he's held many different positions in the club board, including 2 terms as president. He must have not stood back quick enough, but also membership is his passion. He was a district governor for District 9970 in 2016-17 and is currently the district membership chair. Arie also the Rotary appointed director on the board for Probus South Pacific Limited. So a big welcome for Arie and Nick, and let's hear what they've got to say. And we're going to leave Rebecca till later on. Over to you, Arie and Nick.
Right. New membership initiatives. The groundwork necessary to know. Initiatives are generally sourced from 3 areas: district, club, and individuals. Districts should be strategic in their thinking. District 9640 demonstrated this in our last seminar in identifying target areas based on demographics. Clubs are generally less strategic, but have a desire to reach out to a chosen target group or try a new approach. They should be aware of the new group not being a good fit for reasons of age, culture, gender, or traditional format. Therefore, they need to work through these issues carefully.
You have a third area, individuals, and there might be an individual or a group of individuals dissatisfied with the present offering in a Rotary Club, or just wanting to seize the opportunity to try a new approach. And as we will describe later in our presentation, not all initiatives result in new clubs. Sometimes they fail.
We'll move to the next slide, please, Barbara.
Your new club generators, your champions and team approach is one approach in terms of generating new club initiatives. The clubs that have held their own or grown in these difficult times, and we're certainly facing difficult times at the moment, have done so because there has been a champion, or there have been champions prepared to wear their passion for Rotary on their sleeve. When beginning a new club, you need to create a team with skills, passion, drive to get it off the ground. If a champion is doing it on their own, they will quickly suffer burnout, or if they're not supported by a team, or if they get distracted by issues at home or issues in the workplace, and they can't continue with the initiative. So clubs should have membership teams rather than leave it in the hands of one person. And the next person, or the successor to the champion, should always be waiting in the wings as well. You should have a team identified with some natural leaders. The job also, because of the time commitment involved in nurturing a new Rotary presence or a new Rotary club, it's more than a one-year appointment.
Strategic planning and process. Any membership initiative should involve some strategic planning with enough flexibility to change course if necessary. It's necessary to think through the process and the relationships you might need to build or maintain along the way. The other clubs in the area should know what you're doing so you don't get bogged down with territorial issues. Be prepared to be innovative and adaptable. Generate a social media presence quickly, making sure you use the correct branding and stating that it is a provisional Rotary Club. Ask your PI person at district level to help with this. As we personally know, over the years, the social media and websites that people go to see what you're doing and encourage people to join Rotary.
Yeah, time commitment is a big issue here. It takes many meetings, lots of discussions around the correct approach to take. Once decided, nurturing the new group takes time, and often it's 2 steps forward and 1 step backward. And there are times when for a period of time you don't seem to be making much progress or growing. The group themselves often have a very optimistic view as to how long it takes to get a club to the point of charter. Often it takes more time than that.
What's it, boss? Oh, no, I haven't yet, so I'll do that in a minute.
Financial support. Chartering a new club costs money. You need to be sure where the money is coming from, because it's a bit rich to expect new recruits to be paying the establishment costs of a new club, which in New Zealand, with cost of charter fee, incorporated society and charitable trust setting up, can be in the order of $3,000 to $4,000. If districts are serious in supporting new initiatives, they must budget for these costs. In District 9970, with the setting up of the Rolleston Club, a district board commitment has been made to meet these costs for future initiatives.
Ready for the next slide, Barbara? Right, just talking about some of the club types and some of the different models that are out there. Satellite, and that's a term many of you have heard before, they can be formed with 8 rather than the 20 required to establish a full Rotary Club. So there's a convenience about it. You create a significant presence earlier. It's sponsored by another club. It is a subset of another club, and as a consequence, the mother club does have some influence. It can have many forms, but there are dangers attached to it, particularly if the mother club is a very traditional club and the satellite is something different. E-Club is an online-based club and has various models that enables members to be geographically spread, but they can work together on committed causes. Passport Club, this type, and that's relatively new in the marketplace, I suppose. It provides a model for those people who wish to be involved in a community, international service, but not be attached to a particular club in the district. It gives an opportunity to work with various clubs on projects. You can spread your love around, so to speak. Hybrid is a combination of a number of things. It could be a real-time club with an online presence, because there is a camera in the room at the time they hold their meetings. So hybrid can be a combination of a number of things, and as we come out of pandemic and clubs start to meet again, there are clubs operating in a hybrid type environment. Community service focus, clubs primarily focused around providing service to their local communities. As these clubs develop, interest grows in wider and the international areas of Rotary. This is where our new club in our district, the Rolleston Club, that's where it had its foundations, really, community service focus. And then finally, you've got the cause-based type club, and these types are focused on a cause around one of Rotary's 7 areas of focus, such as water, sanitation. Possibly the 7th area of focus is going to attract attention amongst younger people because it's very much environment focused. So this could be of particular interest to the younger generations who are very much cause orientated.
Can we go to the next slide, please, Barbara? Strategic approach. Geographical community opportunity. It's a lot easier if you're dealing with a community with a defined catchment. If it is a new community, often find a community website or Facebook page set up that you can tap into with a large ready-made audience. And that was the example in Rolleston. Promote the new club's first meetings through these channels. Take a photo of the attendees at the meeting and report back on the social media site. Write a short article for a local community page or newspaper. Demographic. Age. Depending on the age group, the need, the venue, the format will all be different. Make sure you're listening to them as to what you think they want, particularly when working with the younger generation. Many processes try to massage the Rotary culture to suit young people, rather than building a model to suit their desires and needs. Imagine the square peg and the round hole image, and you've got it. Needs analysis. Identifying businesses, organisations in the local area to target clubs with the club service vision. Finding out what the community events are, so the new club can get involved, being visible within the community and putting your hand up to work alongside other organisations, for example, Salvation Army, Lions, Parenting Group, food bank drives, schools, supermarkets, malls. Targeting these groups lets them know that Rotary's coming to town.
Dissatisfied or former Rotarians, they have seen Rotary warts and all. If you are putting a safety net under a group of dissatisfied Rotarians or Rotarians wanting a different approach, be wary, because they might take leave of absence from their existing clubs for a period of 6 months, but then drift back to their old club because the establishment of a new group is just going to be too much work for them. Some of those people, a passport model club may be more appropriate in this situation rather than reinventing the wheel with a traditional club model. Proactive, reactive, think carefully before launching into any initiative. Plan the strategy. Choose a sponsor club, development team, champion it carefully. Proceed carefully, but don't let it hold you back. Non-traditional versus traditional. Assess whether a traditional meeting projects type club is appropriate for a new venture. If not, work with the target and sponsor groups to determine the most appropriate model. And often this is the issue when you have a sponsor club involved. They take the view that they just want another version of us. Needs-based. Make sure the new venture is fully researched around the needs of the community or purpose the new club is being set up to provide for. Do not assume you know those needs. Involve the target group early in the research. Continue to work with them.
Move to the next slide, please, Barbara. The challenges. Many Rotarians will think that it's all about a venue, a good dinner, and a speaker. Many Rotarians will try and shoehorn anything new into a mould their club is comfortable with. You need to present a value for money proposition. You don't overpromise and underdeliver. Particularly watch your language and use of Rotary acronyms. If you're presenting on Rotary matters, keep it light to begin with. Along with our wonderful brand and integrity comes a set of Rotary responsibilities. That conversation comes slightly later on, before setting up a new club. The legal issues have to happen to make sure events and projects of a provisional club before it's chartered are covered by Rotary insurance.
Just looking at the district, in March 2019, so that's 18 months ago, a new style club initiative to provide, we created a new style club initiative to provide a safety net for a number of dissatisfied Rotarians or Rotarians wanting to try a different experience. We found that never proceeded to provisional status for a number of reasons. But the group came to several interest meetings. They sat together as a group and didn't mix with others who were attending those interest meetings. And it was clear that they hadn't yet severed their ties with their previous Rotary community, and they eventually drifted back to their old clubs. And we don't have a problem with that. That's the way it panned out. Clubs. Satellites can be slow work. Signature events in the new location are often a way to build profile. It's a way in which you can create awareness. Our own Papanui Rotary Club is working to form a satellite club in Hamner Springs, which is a holiday community 130 k's up the road, 1.5 hours away. We have an association with the Hamner Springs Forest Camp, which is a school camp, recreational camp type situation, and we have a number of members on the board, and we're building profile by attaching some of attaching Rotary activities to signature events down at the camp. And we're building profile that way.
Individuals. New style clubs are a great way to invigorate a district, but the existing clubs will resist often and ask why the newbies aren't joining them. It's all about product. Paddy McKenzie, for example, an E-Club member attached to a club in the USA, is currently in our district and has begun an initiative for young professionals in Central Christchurch, which is steadily growing. It's being championed by the E-Club in the USA. We hope to have this club up and going early next year. Another Rotarian, David Conroy, who's on the webinar tonight, is a passionate Rotarian and is championing another initiative to form an E-Club of 8 people, partnering with a project volunteering hub of young people who wish to widen their volunteering skills and experiences within the Rotary model. There are 60 to 65 active young members who are based all around New Zealand in this group, with a committed group of leaders, and it's those 8 leaders who will form the basis of the 8 people starting the Satellite Club under the sponsorship of one of our existing clubs. District and club level. This leads us to the Rolleston Club. So what is different? It's been sponsored by the nearest club, Lincoln, who provided 3 champions to work with the district team. Most of the old guard and the Lincoln membership team initially did not come on board until it became clear that it was really going to happen, and they weren't going to lose any of their members to a new group who were Rolleston residents. How do we go about setting up the Rolleston Club? Rolleston is a defined new town development comprising of 25,000 residents with its own community newspapers and Facebook pages. The process we followed. Initially, we held several meetings with the development team, which comprised district and Lincoln Club members. We considered the target market groups they were hoping to attract. We discussed the appropriate club models and how an interest campaign would be developed. At about the 5th or 6th meeting, the sponsor club really came on board. Local businesses were researched and received a personalised invitation to join an interest meeting. The provisional Rotary Club Facebook page was set up by our Rotary Public Image Coordinator with 6 targeted messages with the Rotary logo, an explanation of Rotary, and photos of the People of Action campaign. These messages were on Facebook twice a week. Hashtags were added so that the messages would go out to local organisations, for example, Salvation Army and the community pages, so they could register an interest. 45 to 50 people attended the interest meeting evening, which was facilitated by our district trainers. 3 to 4 people gave a short overview of the benefits of forming a new Rotary Club in Rolleston and how this can enhance their community. Most who were attended were in the 30 to 50 age group. 15 to 18 became the core group.
Suggested they make themselves visible in the local community to let people know that Rotary had really arrived in town. A post on the Facebook and in the local paper also announced Rotary was definitely coming to town. The interested members, they manned local supermarket entries, handed out brochures, telling customers about Rotary, and helped with collections for Red Puppy Day and others. So they were involved in community activities, community events and projects before they were even chartered. The group continued to meet informally to explore opportunities for growth, as well as researching community needs and projects. They invited local community organisation leaders such as the Salvation Army, locally here called the Sallies, parenting groups, business managers and local schools who were intrigued to present on what they saw as local community needs. Some of those folk joined the group. The meeting format is from 7 to 8:30 p.m. every second Wednesday night, so that it works for those with families, and the local council were shy, or our Australian friends have supported this group by giving us, or giving the Rolleston group, free meeting space in the staff cafeteria of the Solwyn District Council. Now, the 7 o'clock is important from the point of view that Rolleston is a township 30 k's out of Christchurch. This gives people a chance to get home from work and get family organised before they come down to Rotary. As a result, they have become involved in many local projects, many targeting youth-orientated groups. The group has already supported the 2019 Rolleston fireworks, which attracts an audience of about 15,000 people from Rolleston, Solwyn District and Christchurch. The Solwyn Parenting Network Family Fun Day, the Solwyn Youth Council Boost Spook Night, the Solwyn Motor Fest, e-waste collection and the distribution of food vouchers during the COVID-19 lockdown period are all activities that they've taken part in. They are still a provisional club at this stage with no constitution, bylaws or bank account. All those things are work in progress.
It's not all a bed of roses starting a new club. All members of this group are actively promoting growth in numbers. It's taken 12 months from the wider group information night until chartering. It's taken a considerable time and energy to sort the constitution and bylaws with the new charitable trust laws coming into effect in New Zealand. There is no committee structure at this stage, as everyone is working on a collective responsibility model. Behind the scenes, we're still supporting them to sort out bank accounts and corporation and buttonholing numbers over the COVID period when things came to a standstill. However, over this period, they managed to gain a new member, obtain sponsorship of $13,000 from a local developer and the Solwyn District Council, along with 2 local supermarkets, to enable them to develop what they were going to hold as a spring family event. This was unfortunately postponed due to COVID, but they're holding it as a summer fling instead. They officially chartered on the 25th of May, and their charter celebration has been delayed because of COVID, but will be held on the 22nd of this month. Next month, they've partnered with the local Lions Club to run a Toot for Tucker run through the streets of Rolleston, using fire engines and an ambulance to collect food for the local food banks. The Rotarians are all dressing up in onesies with the Rotary logo on the back to help attract attention. A fun and youthful model, a point of difference, one that few Rotarians may recognise. Thank you, Barbara.
Well, thank you very much, Nick and Arie. That was a very interesting discussion, and I'm glad we got off. We had a bit of a couple of technical difficulties, even though we did rehearse. We still had some technical difficulties, but we all understand. Thank you very much for that. We've seen some good questions coming up in the chat. We won't stop and go through those now because we have, waiting on standby, our good friend Rebecca Fry. Now, Rebecca Fry has a very extensive Rotary resume, so I'll read a brief version of it. Rebecca has over a decade of experience in non-profit leadership and development, running leadership programs across Australia and New Zealand. She has served in a number of senior roles, including Chair of Rotaract Australia, and sits on the Rotary International Strategic Planning Committee. Rebecca strongly believes in empowering people to create positive change in the world, launching numerous initiatives in this pursuit, including Ryla, Oceania, and recently chartering a brand new Rotary Club, the Rotary Social Impact Network. Professionally, Rebecca works in corporate strategy in local government, where she brings her strategic expertise into driving positive outcomes for her local community. So a big welcome to Rebecca Fry.
Thank you so much, Adrian. It's such a pleasure to be here tonight to see a number of familiar faces, but also many new faces as well. And I think it's fantastic to see these types of sessions being run out of our local Rotary International office, and I think we're really lucky for all of that. And I'm keen to see what continues to come from these types of sessions as well. So thanks so much to Nick and Arie, who laid a fantastic groundwork for what I'm about to speak about, which is our new ish Rotary Club, the Rotary Social Impact Network. I'm going to start though by setting the scene to talk a little bit about millennials, because that's the target demographic for our club. And I want to just provide some background as to some of the key points that Nick and Arie have touched on as well, just in terms of context for everyone's thinking in regards to how we continue to create new clubs as well. I'll then specifically dive into the Rotary Social Impact Network, and then we'll have some time for some Q&A after that. So I'll kick off by talking about, so who are millennials and what is it that they want? So millennials are born between 1980 and the year 2000. They are also synonymously known as Generation Y, and they grew up alongside technology. So, and that's really important when I start to talk about how we're engaging as a club. But for many of them, they either don't really remember the times before the internet, or they were just seeing that transition as well. And social media has really been more or less a larger chunk of their lives than less as well, because I know a few people have had questions around engaging on social media. Now, with millennials, a big part of millennials is that they aspire to make a difference with their work, which is fantastic for Rotary, given the platform that Rotary creates to allow people to create positive change in the world. And they also are generally confident, have high expectations, and are achievement oriented, which can sometimes be seen in a negative light in terms of when we see people as either overconfident, but they're fantastic traits if they're able to be channeled effectively through Rotary and through new Rotary clubs. So why is this important? It's important because when we're looking to form new Rotary clubs, millennials are an incredible opportunity for Rotary. I have been involved in Rotary for about 15 years now, having originally been selected to attend the National Youth Science Forum, and have since been heavily involved in Rotaract and then RYLA. And yet we only see 5% of Rotaractors joining Rotary. There's lots of initiatives that are happening in this space to help bring more Rotaractors on the journey. And we also have only 5% of Rotarians who are under the age of 40. So this provides a significant opportunity for us when we're developing new clubs. So we surveyed a number of millennials and asked them, why do they join Rotary? What is it that they want? And overwhelmingly, the response was local service opportunities. It's also really important for them to have social connection, professional development, and the international service components are effective in engaging them as well. But local service was a huge attractor. Now, the thing is, while Rotary has local service opportunities in spades, it's not necessarily our point of difference, because a young person can engage with another non-profit organisation and get local volunteering opportunities. What Rotary's point of difference actually is really in the professional development and the international service elements, because within Rotary, we've got the opportunity to provide people with the opportunity to lead projects or contribute to projects in a way that develops their skills and experience that they can then take into their professional environments. Similarly, from an international perspective, the resources that are available to Rotary clubs and Rotary club members, be it from a networking perspective, from a grants perspective, and purely from all of the resources and support that come out of head office as well, is phenomenal. And there's really a huge opportunity for young people to be able to engage through Rotary in a number of ways that will add value to their life. Now, similarly, one of the things that we get asked is what stops millennials from joining Rotary. And the results were pretty clear on this one, and I don't think they'll surprise anyone, which was around money and time. And so it's easy to look at that when we start new clubs and think, okay, we just need to make Rotary cheaper and take less time. But I touch on a quote from Henry Ford here, which was, if I had have asked the people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And what that essentially leads into is that it's not that millennials or any Rotarians, new Rotarians, are just looking for a cheaper service offering or a service offering that takes less of their time. What they're really saying is that they want flexibility, which Nick and Arie absolutely touched on. And flexibility means the choice as to what they're able to engage in. So rather than feeling necessarily the pressure to be involved in every single event and project or attending every single meeting, it's looking at what is it that they're personally interested in and how can we enable them to have the flexibility to choose to engage in those things that are energizing them and aligned for them. Similarly, it's the value proposition. People will make time for the things that they see value in. And so it's then looking at, with all of the different priorities that a young person or any member of the general public has, be it family, career, friends, health, where is it that Rotary fits into those priorities? And also, what is the value of each service offering? So if I have the option to participate in an event this weekend, what's the value of me participating in that event from a community perspective, from a networking perspective, and what is the cost or potentially what am I missing out on in that sense as well. So we need to ensure that everything that we're trying to provide to our members is a value offering in that sense as well. And the other big thing when we look at flexibility and value is really looking at how does Rotary integrate into people's lives? How does it support their personal and professional goals? How does it enable them to actually achieve what they want to be achieving in life more broadly? And this comes back to the fact that we no longer live in a 9-to-5 working world. We really are online all the time. We are connected all the time. And so as a result, we're no longer looking at a world where we have work-life balance. We're actually looking at work-life, and in this case, Rotary, integration. So everything needs to nicely fit together and complement each other in that sense. So that leads me into our new Rotary Club, which is the Rotary Social Impact Network, which was created on these principles. And to provide you an overview of the demographics of our club, we have 31 members who are aged between 24 and 41. And of those members, 97% of our charter members are Rotary alumni. 87% of those have been past or current Rotaractors. And I think that sends a really clear message that it's not that Rotaractors or young people are not interested in Rotary. They're very much interested and they're bought into what Rotary is doing. The key is, are we actually providing them with a club that meets their needs? We are a global club, so we have members primarily from Australia, and we are chartered in Rotary District 9685 in Sydney. So we have a significant cohort of members based in Sydney, but we also have members from right across Australia and globally, covering the USA, Mexico, Germany, Italy, and Australia and Tanzania. Now that does pose some challenges when it comes to time zones and the like, but you'll start to see how we look at managing that as well. So a key part for us is that we do not have weekly meetings. We considered at the start of developing our club what the purpose of having weekly meetings would be for, and we realised that the primary purpose was really for information sharing. And once we realised that, we realized that we didn't need to have weekly meetings to be sharing information. The way that we share information is through a number of online platforms, primarily Microsoft Teams, which some people may be familiar with, and I'll show a little bit of an insight into our Microsoft Teams platform. But essentially, it's a personalized membership portal that only our members can access. We also we utilize Zoom currently, however, we'll soon shift all of our online meetings also onto Microsoft Teams. And when I talk about online meetings, I'm not talking about our weekly meetings, I'm talking about meetings where we're either talking about strategy around the club or having social events, or also looking at project brainstorming as well. And the other channel that we do use is our Facebook group. We primarily have used this in the past for recruitment and engagement, but it's something that we'll be looking to tap back into as we start to run more events as well. But we have a group that's dedicated to our Friends of the Rotary Social Impact Network, which has about 300 people in there so far. So a bit of a sneak peek into our online portal. So this is Microsoft Teams. It's kind of like a private Facebook group, but with a lot more functionality. And I just want to preface this by saying that Microsoft Teams is not the silver bullet here. The silver bullet, oh, actually I should say, there's no silver bullet. It all takes a lot of hard work. But the solution that Microsoft Teams provides to us is the flexibility, the integration, and the value. So we in Microsoft Teams have a general channel where people can post different general posts as you would in a Facebook group, and people can like and comment, and that's where we are able to engage in a general setting for all of our members. We then have a series of channels which allow our members to engage in the areas that they're particularly interested in on a personal level. So be it our impact areas, our leadership areas, or our club administration areas as well. We've got the opportunity to have private discussions. So all of our board meetings are run through Microsoft Teams. We share files, our minutes, our agendas, all through Microsoft Teams. And that's where we can continue to engage on an ongoing basis. We then have our club channels, and this allows us to do project management as well as in general engagement. So we organised our charter event back in May, all through using Microsoft Teams. We have a series of impact channels, and we have a number of different areas that we focus on. So we spoke to our members, and this comes back to the cause-related clubs piece as well. So we looked at, there's so much that we could do. How do we actually decide where we want to engage? And we looked at our members providing us with the areas and essentially voting on the areas that they wanted to focus on. So we came up with disaster relief, Indigenous affairs, environmental sustainability, and youth projects. And then we have a leadership component as well. And that leadership component, and we've got a social component as well, enables, again, our members to engage on areas that they have common interest in. So we have a book club, for example. We also have some other social channels which are a bit of fun around hiking and foodies, and it's a way to really bring people together around just other areas that they enjoy. So to talk about our impact, we've developed a series of social impact principles because we want to ensure that the impact that we're having is done not only in a consistent way, but in a tangible, measurable, and impactful way. So with each of our projects that we've been looking to assess or run, we ensure that they've got alignment with our focus areas. We've reduced the cost for our members where possible and the investment of their funds and time. We look at how we can make them as non-geographically bound as possible so all of our members can participate. We've got that inclusion piece. And we've also looking at how our events are measurable and measuring the end impact that we have and how they're scalable as well. An example of an initiative that we ran earlier this year was for the Australian bushfires. We considered doing a fundraising event but we were conscious that that fundraising probably isn't the way that we'll be able to have the most significant impact. We instead looked at the fact that the Australian Red Cross were looking for donations for their stores that they have. And so we got all of our members to do a spring clean and donate bags of clothes to the stores. And we tracked how many bags were donated, what was the volume in those bags, and then we averaged out looking at what those products would have been able to be sold for, which was essentially in the realm of conservatively $4,000, however, more likely in the realm of $8,000 once all those products were distributed. And that was more than what we, as a small, young, new club, would have been able to generate in a fundraising initiative. So it was an innovative way for us to look at how we could do service. I mentioned some of our leadership initiatives earlier, and the key here is really just looking at the fact that the value that we are able to provide to our members is really in the leadership and the social space, and the value that we're looking to gain from our members is how they contribute to our projects. So similarly, we've got a number of social initiatives. I touched on a couple before. Coffee with a Rotarian is an initiative where we pair our members up and they actually engage over a virtual coffee so that they can get to know each other better one-on-one. And with each of the other themed areas that we're looking at, that we have, so foodies and hiking, we're now looking at how can we run some virtual initiatives where we are able to fundraise and also have a project impact as well. So at the moment, we're looking at how we can organise a virtual hike, which will be aligned with, fingers crossed, Rotary Ecology Day, but otherwise another environmentally focused initiative. And so we're looking at a number of education pieces in that realm, as well as having a fundraising component as well. Now, a big key in regards to not only starting new clubs, but also maintaining current clubs, but particularly in starting new clubs, is ongoing review. Even when you create something that you think is, incredibly effective, it's so important to continue to engage with your members, be flexible, ready to pivot, and be able to ensure that you can adapt to their responding needs as well. So for us, Microsoft Teams has been a fantastic platform for us. There's some functionality that's missing from the free version that we're using, so we're now looking to upgrade to the paid version. And we're also we've been hosting ongoing SWAT sessions. We've got a town hall that's happening this Sunday because we want to continue to ensure that our members are continuing to have a voice and the ability to shape our club as well. So I want to leave you with those 3 points that I touched on at the start. So like I said, Microsoft Teams or a digital platform is not the silver bullet. The key components we need to continue to come back with in starting new clubs is what flexibility are we providing our members, what value are we providing our members, and how does what our service offering integrate and support their lives. So they're the 3 components I would love everyone to take away. So I'll hand back over now to the hosting team, and yeah, look forward to the dialogue to come. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Well, now, wasn't that an awesome presentation? And a round of applause for Rebecca. I really like that flexibility, value and integration. I think there's some good points to take away. Now we've got approximately 10 minutes left for questions. So I'm going to hand over to my good friend Damien, Assistant Rotary Coordinator Damien Leach, who's going to fire the questions at our presenters. And you'll be pleased to know that my other good friend, Assistant Rotary Coordinator Ingrid Waugh, is going to put together a list of the frequently asked questions and the answers, and they'll be sent out by our good friend Barbara, along with the link to the recording of this webinar. So over to you, Damien, for the next 9 minutes.
Thanks, Adrian. So I guess I'd start off and say, I imagine with potentially both of the clubs that you spoke about, that you were potentially pushing in to where other clubs already were, established clubs where they would potentially feel as if they had a role. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you resolved, though, potentially that conflict, but also what you may have done proactively to make sure that conflict didn't occur? Nick, do you want to go first? Nick, you're on mute. Rebecca, do you want to go first, and we'll come back to Nick while he's resolving his muting issues?
Can you hear us now?
Oh, go.
That was incredible timing.
Yeah. In relation, Arie here, Damien, in relation to
Thanks,
Rolleston, we were privileged, I suppose, in that Rolleston is a new township. So you had, at the time we started to show interest in the township, there probably would have been 13,000, 14,000 members. It's grown to over 20,000 now. A very new town. So although Lincoln had 6 or 7 members that were living there, and as a sponsor club, that's why they were a wee bit cool to start with, because they were worried they were going to lose members to this new initiative. We weren't in territorial waters, really. It was something, and that's the beauty of it. It was a new town. Damien, now you are on mute.
Yep, sorry. Rebecca.
Yeah, so great question, Damien, because when we originally started, we were looking at basing ourselves in an area of Sydney called Macquarie Park. So we were looking to be geographically bound. One of the first things that I did was contact there are 2 Rotary clubs in that geographical area, and I shared the model that we were looking to implement, and essentially got them on board from the start, that we were looking at a very different target market, that we would be keen to support initiatives that they had in their local area. And so, yeah, they were really supportive. Our model shifted a lot it took us 15 months before we chartered. So, yeah, what do they say with project management? Double the budget and double the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it took us longer than anticipated, and it evolved a lot. So we're no longer geographically bound, but it was one of the first things that we were mindful of.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. So, in terms of the established clubs and the established, district processes, did you come up against any challenges when you were putting together your relevant clubs? So you created your own space, and you sort of created your blue ocean strategy in terms of not having necessarily those established clubs in the area, but in terms of how the district responded to it. Rebecca, do you want to go first this time?
Yes, I can go first. So yeah, we had overwhelming support from our local Rotary district. So we were incredibly lucky in that sense. From the whole train. So the last 2 past district governors, as well as our current district governor, David Clark. So yeah, from a district perspective, the support was incredible. We couldn't have asked for anything more.
That's great. And Nick and Arie?
Yes, certainly with the Rolleston Club, I don't think we could say we had those challenges. Once the sponsor club came on board, everyone was very encouraging. However, with some of the other initiatives we talked about, and certainly Patty's challenge, the initial reaction from a lot of district leaders initially was, why don't they join or perhaps amalgamate with another club? And so there's a different culture, a totally different culture. Patty's trying something completely different. And that's certainly what we've spread the message with. Likewise with the club that David's talking about, the satellite, our biggest challenge is finding what we're called as a culturally sensitive parent club. And that's what we're working through at the moment.
Okay.
One thing that I would add, when I said we had incredible district support, the timing worked really well for us when the idea came to inception. it was around the time of district assembly. So I had the opportunity to speak for 15 minutes about what we were actually proposing. And so that was a really great, I'll say, neutral space to talk about new style clubs in general. Here's what we're looking at doing. And the support then from Rotarians in the district was overwhelmingly supportive, because they could see that we were offering something so different. And that was exciting for them to see that energy in the district.
And it would have been an opportunity to dispel the myths potentially before they spread.
My answer to many of the clubs has been, if your product had been particularly attractive, these young people would have joined you. They haven't. So they have voted with their feet. They are interested in this new initiative because it is meeting their needs.
Which is a great way of looking at it. What would your first piece of advice be for someone within a district or within a club that was looking at going down this path? Where would they start?
I think Nick and Arie touched on exactly what I would touch on as well, which is you need to have the person who's going to be driving the club.
Yep. Absolutely.
That really is step one. You've got to find that person, because I've seen many situations where you've got amazing Rotary clubs who want to start a satellite club or want to start a new Rotary club, and unfortunately, unless you've got the person who's going to drive it internally, it will fall over.
Yep.
You need a champion or a group of champions, and then you also need to make sure that you do your targeting right. Be prepared to have a number of meetings before something actually happens, and then work closely with your public image people, because at the end of the day, you've got to get the messaging right, and it's got to be in the right format and the right, it's got to reach people.
Okay, thank you. Rebecca, you spent a bit of time talking about the influence that social media can have on developing your club culture and the promotion of your club. So I guess this question has two parts. How much of an influence does social media have in terms of gaining new members? And the second part is, and I think Arie and Nick touched on this in terms of budget setting. Do you think that it's effective to have a social media budget to promote the particular club? And if it does, and more broadly, who should pay for that promotion? Is it surrounding clubs? Where does it come from? And I think, Nick, you mentioned about the district it costing about, I think it was $2,000 to develop up a new club. How do you manage those as well?
So as a starting point, so social media was incredibly effective for us, but that was primarily because we were leveraging an audience that we knew already existed on social media. And what I mean by that, for context, really where the origin of our club started was through the Australian Rotaract Conference in Adelaide 2 years ago. I was a member of another Rotary club prior to starting the Rotary Social Impact Network. Starting a new club wasn't on my list of things to do that year, but in terms of engaging with a number of Rotaractors, it was clear that they wanted to join Rotary. They were struggling to find a club that was effective for them. So we used existing, so the Australian Rotaractors group, and a number of different channels that were already existing on social media to engage those people. I would, if I'm incredibly honest, I would have sent individual messages probably to about 100 people, personalized messages. So rather than just posting and saying, we're starting a new club, who's interested, which we did that as well. I sent individual messages to people who I knew were not a member of an existing Rotary club, because I was not looking to poach. That was incredibly important. But people who I knew were interested in Rotary but had not joined a local club. And that's how we then developed our Facebook group, and then how we did our recruitment from there. to do that doesn't cost budget. So I'm maybe not the right person to answer the second part of the question, because we, like I said, we were targeting an existing audience rather than using sponsored ads to tap into the general community.
Okay. Nick and Arie?
Yes, Rolleston had a similar pattern. As we said in the presentation, we targeted local business groups initially with a targeted email and then follow-up phone calls. So it was all, it was personal approach with a lot of it. And they came to the first interest group meeting. Interestingly enough, though, that the core of the membership hasn't come from that particular campaign. It's come from the social media campaign through Facebook. And that targeted sequence of over that fortnight period, that's where the large interest came from. That's where the core group came from. It obviously pushed the right buttons, the right messages were going out, and at the end of the day, that's the media that they're still continuing to use. They've got a closed Facebook page for their members. They have an external Facebook page which they're still promoting out into the Rolleston and wider area with it. So they're very actively promoting that through business network Facebook pages. They are using every opportunity. That comes back to the fact that their median age of their club is 42. Many of them have young businesses. That's how they work in their daily lives.
When we first hit the Rolleston situation, the community Facebook page, I think it had 18,500 members. Yeah, there was a ready-made audience there waiting for us to announce
Very
ourselves.
helpful. All right, well, thank you. I might pass it back to Adrian to wrap up, but thank you, Rebecca, Nick and Arie, for answering these questions.
Thank you, Damien, for hosting that part of the evening. And yes, again, a very special thank you to Nick and Arie and Rebecca for their insightful presentations. You know, I kept hearing the words team, and don't forget you've got a great team with the assistant Rotary coordinators. Get to know them. Also, your district membership chair, your district governor, G-Train, they're all happy to help with starting new clubs, new style of clubs, and of course we can give you some more information on how that all happens. Thank you for attending this webinar. There could be another one. We're talking about having another one. We won't tell you what it's about just yet because it's still on the planning table. But keep an eye out on Rotary on the Move, and of course now we've got your email address. We'll certainly email you and let you know so you don't miss out on the next webinar. So thank you all once again. I'll just pass Barbara. Did you want to have something to say at the end, Barbara?
Thanks, Adrian. I just wanted to say thanks very much to our guest speakers, and also just wanted to point you to the Rotary International resources that we have available in general, just about membership, but also about starting new clubs. So just check out rotary.org/membership, starting new club. So thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara. Look out for that email from Barbara with the link to the copy of the presentation, and also the frequently asked questions, answers, etc. And look, a special hello to our wonderful director-elect, Jessie Harmon. Jessie's sitting in the background and listening away there, but a special hello to Jessie. Okay, good night, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.